Scrum. Scrum is a framework for developing, delivering, and sustaining complex products. Scrum is used for complex as well as simple and complicated products. Scrum framework consists of Scrum teams and the associated roles, events, artifacts, and rules. Scrum is founded on empirical process that asserts knowledge comes from experience and making decisions based on what is known. Scrum employs iterative and incremental approach. So the iterative approach is something which is done in repetitive cycles, and the incremental approach is something in which we deliver the product in smaller portions. So the iterative approach is, and Scrum is called sprint, and at the end of each sprint we deliver a product that is called increment. That and the Scrum follows the empirical process, which is different from the defined process. The defined process is done in controlled and coordinated environment, while the empirical process follows transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Scrum values. To make the Scrum successful, the following values must be followed, that is commitment, courage, focus, openness, and respect. Scrum team. Scrum teams are self-organizing and cross-functional. Scrum team consists of product owner, development team, and Scrum master. The product owner is one person, not a committee. A product owner is responsible for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the development team. Product owner manages product backlog and he has the authority to cancel a sprint. So there are basically three artifacts in the Scrum framework, that is product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment. And the product owner is the owner of the product backlog and he manages the product backlog, and he prioritizes the items in the product backlog, and on the basis of the priority the items from the product backlog are taken into the sprint backlog. Development team. It consists of professionals who do the work of delivering and a potentially releasable increment at the end of each sprint. They are self-organizing and cross-functional, and the ideal team size is 3 to 9. So the self-organizing and cross-functional means, the self-organizing team means they will be uh, they choose how to do their work best without interference from anybody outside the team. And the cross-functional means the team has all the required skills to create a product increment. Scrum Master. Scrum Master is responsible for promoting and supporting Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. Scrum Master is a servant leader for the Scrum team. Scrum Master serves the organization, development team, and the product owner in several ways. Like the Scrum Master teaches the development team about Scrum. Scrum Master helps in adoption of Scrum at the organization level, and Scrum Master also helps the product owner in managing the product backlog. Scrum events. All events in this uh, Scrum are time boxed events, like sprint. So a sprint is a time box of 1 month or less during which a usable and potentially releasable product increment is created. So inside a sprint we have following events like sprint planning, daily scrums, development work, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. Sprint planning, it is done at the beginning of the sprint, and here the team decides what can be delivered at the end of the sprint, and what is the goal of the sprint and how it can be achieved. Daily scrum. In daily scrum, team gathers at the one place and discuss about the impediments, progress in current sprint. Development work. The work done inside a sprint is called development work. Sprint review. Sprint review is done at the end of the sprint when all the task has been done. Sprint retrospective. In the sprint retrospective, uh, the team does the inspection and identify and create a plan to whatever they want improvement in the process. So they do the inspection and they identify the changes, what need to be done, what went well, and and create a plan to implement those changes from the next sprint. Scrum artifacts. So Scrum artifacts are product backlog, sprint backlog, and increment. Product backlog. Product backlog it is an ordered list of everything that is known to be needed in the product. So it is an ordered list, which means the lists in the the items in the product backlog are uh, are put on the priority basis. Means the product owner prioritize them, and uh, put them on the priority basis, and on the basis of priority they are taken in the sprint backlog. The product owner is responsible for the product backlog, including its content, availability, and ordering. The product backlog lists all features, functions, requirements, enhancements, and fixes that constitute the changes to be made in the future release. So the product backlog is also dynamic. It will change once the product evolves, and also with the environment. So the product backlog will be updating well, and then during the duration of the project. Sprint backlog. Sprint backlog is the set of product backlog items selected for the sprint, plus a plan for delivering the product increment and realizing the sprint goal. Development team is the owner of sprint backlog, and only they can change it during a sprint. So in a sprint, we take items from the product backlog, and the development team works on those sprint items, and at the end of each sprint, they deliver an increment which meets the definition of done. Means the definition of done is something that team decides some conditions, and once all the conditions are fulfilled for that feature, it is said to be done. Increment. Increment is sum of all the product backlog items completed during a sprint and the value of all the increments of all previous sprints. It means, for example, if we are in the fifth sprint, the increment will have all the features till fourth sprint plus the feature that we have developed in the fifth sprint. So it is the sum of all the increments that we have done till this sprint. At the end of the sprint, a new increment must be done, which means it must be in a usable condition and meet the Scrum team definition of done. So that Scrum team decides the definition of done for each sprint on the basis of features, and it can be updated means in each sprint. Thank you.